Hey, go getters. Hey, go getters. How are you? How are you doing? Welcome to another video, another live stream, I should say. If you're here with me live, please feel free to go ahead and drop a hey in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Maybe what's one thing that brought you joy today. Um, I just want to make sure we are live in all the places and I'm able to see the comments as they come through. Okay, so let's just make sure here. Okay, great. Okay, so it looks like we are live. Um, Thank you for those who let me know that you're able to hear and see me. All right, great. So we have been doing a series uh, all around follow up and how we can create some system behind it that allows us to be able to build that consistency. And also, I always love to say, as much as I love technology, remembering that we're also dealing with people. So creating those people centric views. And so let's talk about a major frustration. And I know so many of us have this where we are sending follow ups, maybe they're getting ignored. Maybe you write the email, you send the DM, you even follow up after a second time, and still there's, I love to say, either crickets or silence. So maybe you start second guessing yourself. Did I say something wrong? Maybe I should have waited longer, or are they even interested? And if you're here with me live, or whether you're watching this on the replay, if this sounds familiar, I want you to go ahead and drop a fire emoji in the chat. If so, you are not alone. So I appreciate those that have sent comments in. Yes, I see it and I appreciate it. Um, but here's the thing, most people, they aren't ignoring you because they don't want to work with you. I think we tend to forget that we're in this era where everyone is busy, they're overwhelmed, they're distracted, and sometimes they just need the right message at the right time. And that's what we're breaking down today. So, again, whether you're here with me live or watching on the replay, I love to say this is a safe space. If you are watching on the replay, I want to shout out my replay watchers. My team and I love to go back and make sure we're reading, engaging, and if you have any question, being able to address that. So definitely feel comfortable in leaving your comments there if you're watching on the replay. By the end of the live, I want you to know exactly what to say, especially in those follow-ups where people will respond. Plus, I'll show you how to store using tools like Google Sheets, ConvertKit, and even ClickUp to make sure you're not starting from scratch as far as tracking and measuring the actual follow-up that you're doing. So, quick story, and I'll pause here just to make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Okay, great. So I'm not missing anything here in the chat. But let me tell you a quick story. So back when I was first growing Virtually Centered Solutions, I had a conversation with someone who was super excited to work with me. We talked about their business struggles. I even gave them some ideas and they were all in, that hot, excited. But when I followed up, then it was like I talked about earlier, like the crickets, like nothing was happening. Now, I could have actually assumed that they weren't interested anymore. It's kind of like those dating scenarios, like maybe they're just not into me. But instead, I sent a different kind of follow up, and one that was a bit more personalized and reminded them of the energy that I gave or that we had as far as a connection in that conversation, and what we talked about. Acknowledged how busy they were. I think it was adding that human feel and offered an easy next step. And guess what? They responded immediately. And so if your follow-ups are getting ignored, chances are it's not because these potential clients don't want to work with you. It could be because your message isn't standing out in their busy inbox. If you're here with me and you understand, let's face it, a lot of us are dealing with getting like inundated with messages, whether it be through the DMs, whether it be through our email, whether it be just from all different angles. So here's what you need to know. Most people don't respond to follow-ups because one, maybe the message feels generic. It's, one of those AKA just checking in messages, or it doesn't add value. It just doesn't, sometimes it sounds bad, but it doesn't seem like they should reply or need to reply. Maybe there's no clear next step. So maybe they feel like they can put it off and maybe forget about it because you haven't defined a clear next step. So if these sound familiar, I want you to go ahead and drop a fire in the chat if you've ever been guilty. And I love to say that it's a safe space. Let's be honest with ourselves here. We're not here to play that blame game or feel that anyone is more inclined to be doing it right. The goal here is for us to come out of the guilt and improve our follow-up. So now that we've established why they're possibly not responding, let's talk about an exact follow-up formula that works for this. And so let's get into the good stuff and what to say to people that actually will get them to reply. So here's a formula I talked about previously in one of our live streams. It's actually using a follow-up formula. And these are things that you can store inside of tools such as Google Sheets or even in ClickUp, so you can tweak and reuse them easily. And that doesn't mean that we're going to get robotic. It doesn't mean that we're just going to copy and paste the same thing. But having some type of follow-up formula is going to allow you to then craft strategically how you follow up, how you engage, and make it more appealing to your particular audience. So I love to give the follow-up formula of a personalized opener. And so that could be varying. I love to say that if you're a person that maybe you talking in the tone of, hey, Tanisha, or hey, Sarah, something like that, using your natural tone to be able to relay that message. I saw, maybe you're then going to say to them, they saw your recent post maybe about XYZ topic and you loved it, and maybe provide some feedback about it. That's free market research for them. And it's also a way for you to spark some conversation outside of them just feeling like you're doing a generic check-in or possibly just regurgitating the same kind of messages. Next, you want to think about reminder of last conversation. So last time we talked, maybe you mentioned a pain point or a struggle that they had. Now, this again goes back to us using our natural tone. If that's not how you speak, I love to think of how would I say this if I was with my girlfriends? And of course, you have to know your audiences, because depending on the type of client that you're engaging with, you do still have to know your audience, as I like to say, and match that tone. Next, you want to provide value. And sometimes we forget to lead with value. We just think of how can we get the thing that we're trying to get back. And some way that you could do that is, as we're all scrolling through, we're getting all the things in our inbox. It doesn't have to be something formal. For example, recently I was actually pitched about a photography package, and was able to share that with a friend because I thought the way they marketed it was unique for this type of audience. And so it was something to share with her to probably look over for her business and maybe personalize in a way. Because a lot of us aren't reinventing the wheel. We're just personalizing it to how our business and how our brand is built as well. So that's just an example. And last but not least, you want to think of the clear next step. And so if it's something, maybe you shared a blog article with them, maybe you're sharing an upcoming workshop and you want either for the blog, maybe you're looking for some feedback or some thought about it. Or maybe you're having an event, personalize the invite to them. It's clear adding in a clear next step. So when you use this structure, you're reminding them why they were interested. You're showing that you're paying attention to them and giving them an easy way to reply to you. So this goes back to us realizing that we're dealing with people, and as much as we are looking for something in return, in some cases, people love to hear and feel sometimes that they are your savior as well. So thinking of that follow-up formula, we want to think about personalized opener, a reminder of your last conversation, providing value, and last but not least, a clear next step. Now, these all don't have to be in one email. You can think strategically to how your brand is set up and be able to write these follow-ups in a sequence, as we talked about in a prior live stream, of whether that's 3, maybe that's 5. I did share a stat that 80% of the follow-ups are just, you need to touch more than 5 points. And so even in hearing that stat, but then thinking realistically as a human and how we're inundated with so many things, you want to make sure that you incorporate the amount of steps that will help create the impact you're looking for as far as follow-ups. So last but not least, I would not be me if we didn't get into how we're tracking that. So now, if you're sending follow-ups and you might be losing your mind, it could be that you're not tracking them and you're making things way harder than they need to be. So that's why I use the tools like technology tools like ClickUp, which is a project management or a task management tool to be able to track who we're following up with. You can also use tools like ConvertKit to automate your email sequences. And if maybe you're not ready quite yet for Google Sheets, or you want to use them in tandem, you can have Google Sheets as a backup inside of ClickUp. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can illustrate what that actually means. Okay, perfect. So we'll start with the Google Sheet. So for those who maybe want a simplistic, maybe you're building the muscle of follow-up, maybe these are potential clients, maybe these are networking, from networking events that you've attended, that you want to make sure you're not just leaving the cards to collect digital dust. So in this spreadsheet, you can see that it starts with first name, last name. Of course, their pertinent contact information, maybe you, and keep in mind, this is customizable to what you need. So maybe you're not looking for email, maybe you're looking to have the phone number, or you're looking to have both. So consider what you need. I also want to leave a caveat of don't overwhelm yourself and try to track everything. Track the necessary things that's going to help you complete your follow-up. So if you're not necessarily doing text or calling, don't add things that you don't need. It can get overwhelming and just cluttery. Next, you have your last contact date, or this could be your initial contact date when you met the person and when you're looking to do the first contact. Then we move into follow-up, which is what we're here for. The follow-up could be broken down into different stages. I spoke in a different live stream about thinking of this, the kind of the timeline for your own business. So maybe you follow up, your idea is to follow up after initial contact in the first 2 weeks. Then maybe it jumps to 30 days, or maybe it's then 60 days. And then after that point, you decide if they are a long-term nurture, which would go over to the nurture list. Last but not least, I want to include here is the status. So this is something that's customizable. So depending on the type of steps you take in follow-up, you can definitely customize, but it comes with some basic process or steps that could be used during follow-up. And of course, we want to take notes. We want to think about what the conversation was, maybe something that grabbed our attention that we want to utilize and personalize in our follow-up. So another thing that I added here, as we talk about follow-up emails, is creating some templates. So on this tab could be your follow-up template emails. And keep in mind, these are just starting points. And when you think of the starting points, when you think of the starting points, they are ways to not start from scratch. So when I say that we're templated and we're doing things in that nature, it doesn't mean that we can't add flavor. So maybe that first response is a video response. Maybe it's an audio message. Maybe it's a voice note, something like that. That doesn't mean that we can't, customize that. It just means that we're not starting from scratch. So with that drop down, you're able to filter through and have a template that you can start from scratch to write your email. You can literally copy and paste that into an email and then go ahead and customize it to the particular person. Maybe you're grabbing items from your notes and being able to add that into that email or contact that you're sending to that person. So it's creating some process or system around follow-up so we can track without losing our mind pretty much. The other one that I'll hop over into my screen and share is ClickUp. And so I'll share with you how you're able to do that as well. So if we go over to ClickUp, I've shared this one before where it's a sample workspace where you can create a contact form. What I love about this is that you're able to bring it up to you can have it as a link on your website. You can also even have it as just a link you share, maybe via text or email or anything like that. I also am a firm believer of whenever planning for, assistance or support in our business. So one of the things is having some type of, we call it a SOP or a standard operating procedure that can help it's just really a blueprint of the steps for completing the task and a resource page for whoever is completing the task. And then this is where all the magic is, all the bread and butter is. So if you're here, you can see each contact individually. Now, if you click into it, you're able to see that this information actually came from that contact form, and you can choose to add customized things. So maybe this is someone you want to keep in contact with on LinkedIn. You're able to then, add their LinkedIn profile there. Maybe this is someone you want to keep in contact with on Instagram. Then you're able to add that here. You're able to add notes in this section here. You can add comments. And so this is another way for you to be able to track set due dates. Now this can even be recurring where you're like, okay, I want to set this where I follow up with them monthly, maybe yearly. So just thinking again back to your business processes and what that could actually look like for you. And so we want to keep in mind that I love to say that we can't grow from what we don't track. And so keeping this centralized approach allows us to be able to, again, I keep saying not lose our minds, because who is here for that? So one last thing, what about the leads who say not right now, but maybe later? So if you notice in that spreadsheet, I created a nurture list. And so inside that nurture list is actually where you can add those who maybe you need to check on them in a few months, maybe you need to check on them next year. It creates a centralized running list of people that you will need to nurture. And so ways to stay top of mind. So this is where you can build out, helpful resources. As I talked about earlier, saw this, thought about you. Maybe you engage with their content because maybe it's a goal you have that each week you engage with 2 to 5 of their content, inviting them to free workshops. It's low pressure and it's a way to stay connected. So your follow-up really isn't just about closing a deal today. It's about building relationships so that when they're ready you're the first person they think of. So I'm hoping this was helpful. Uh, as always, I love to just make sure that we're providing valuable information. So if you are here with me now or watching in the replay, definitely feel free to go ahead and drop questions, comments, or concerns in the chat. And as always, I'm cheering you on. Love y'all.